Welcome to Industrial Problem Solving. My name is Dave Roysam. I am super excited to continue our new mini-series on inspection. In the last 4 clips, we gave best practices for inspecting webs. Here we turn our attention to inspecting wound rolls. I know your time is precious, so let's get started. So, why should we know how to inspect rolls visually? The answer is best evidenced by the must-have Encyclopedia of Defects. Every single one of the 100+ roll defects in this book has a picture. Only a very few are measurable. Of course, there is no way we can cover the 100 roll defects in this clip, much less the 400 web defects that are also in this encyclopedia. For such details, we need to turn to resources, such as my award-winning and trademark Web401 short course that has been taken by 5,000 students just like you. For those who like reading, I have 3 books that will be most helpful here. The most recent is the must-have 500-page Web Handling Handbook. Instead, in this clip, we will merely highlight some of the important things to look for on your wound rolls. The first thing that we learn from any of these resources is that defects have proper names. While coning, scoping, and shooting are sometimes used, telescoping is the proper name. Thus, using several words for the same thing is confusing and is to be avoided. Worse yet is using the same word, corrugations, for 2 totally different things. Corrugations are not tin cans and vice versa. Also, as we learn from any of these resources, our defects, such as core crush, telescopes, and wrinkles, are not a single defect, but rather a collection of distinctly different defects that happen to have a similar outcome. You must get the right subcase because, for example, 2 of the core crushes are tight defects and 1 is a loose defect. Similarly, one telescoping type improves strongly with taper tension, while another type is made worse with taper. In short, a wrinkle is not a wrinkle is not a wrinkle. Take the time to learn how to diagnose which wrinkle you have so that you can get the right remedy list to work on. Careful inspection of the roll's build gives several vital clues about certain roll defects that are often related to web profile variation. Careful inspection of the roll's ends gives us vital clues about certain other roll defects. Of course, our reference for troubleshooting is not whether the roll is rejectable. Rather, as we learned in an earlier clip, our references are deviation from perfect cylindricity, just as our reference for webs is perfect flatness. In my advanced winding class, I give you a dozen methods to see or measure web profile problems. Here is what may be one of the most sensitive. Now let's turn our attention to the roll's edges. If we only have one roll to work with, we will always look at both ends of that one roll. However, if we have a set of rolls to work with, we have a lot more information. In that case, we would look at every edge of every roll. This slide gives 2 of a half dozen different root causes for dishing that are most easily diagnosed by patterns between the rolls in the same set. As we learned in my advanced winding class, the width of the roll is guaranteed by the laws of physics to be non-uniform. That single root cause, in turn, can cause a variety of different outcome problems, including one-type addition during winding, permanent web width changes, poor roll vertical stacking, and several more. There are nearly 12 telescoping cases. Case 1A is the most common. In my Web 101 class, we go through great detail on how to diagnose which telescope type you have. Here we show inspection and diagnostics being aided by using a straight edge. We may also choose to measure the deviation from straightness as the distance from the roll edge to the ruler as a function of radius. Of course, we do that on both ends of this same roll. The sum of the measurements is width changes, and the difference between the two roll end measurements is telescoping. Now we are ready to move beyond smooth roll edge defects. Rough roll edges are one of the most difficult of the winding defects to troubleshoot down to the single root cause. Think of the layers in a wound roll like tree rings. A narrow tree ring tells you something is wrong. However, it could be that that narrow tree ring was caused by a season that was too wet or too dry, or too hot, or too cold, or that there could have been bugs, or that there was a fungus, and so on. Troubleshooting which specific cause you have is challenging for tree rings and is especially challenging for wound roll layers. Nowhere in wound roll troubleshooting will you need to be more careful and more methodical than with troubleshooting rough roll edges. As I teach, you must pick one single layer in one single roll to study, even if that roll has 1,000 layers. Then you must work through the possibilities as we outline here for that one single layer of that one single roll. If you cannot manage that kind of discipline and patience, you may wish to find some other problem to work on. The good news is that diagnosing a single layer is easier than trying to read the entire roll at once. The good news is that a single layer may be similar to the other layers in the roll, so that by studying just a few layers in detail, you may understand the entire roll. Histograms are a chart of frequency versus position. Histograms have tremendous diagnostic power. Histograms are easy to do for most web defects. The CD centerline positions of defects can be measured and recorded to troubleshoot problems with the upstream web maker or the web converting process. Some high-end defect detection systems do this automatically. Similarly, the radial positions of defects are vital for troubleshooting problems on the winder itself. Most winding defects, starring and telescoping accepted, favor the core or the outside. Thank you so very much for joining me in this problem solving and problem preventing series that is based on web and roll inspection. Here we have given you several best practices and tools for the inspection of wound rolls to help determine which of the some 100 roll defects you might have. Stay tuned for the next clip where we will talk about how to complain. More specifically, how to document trouble with a web or roll, and how to return it to your supplier. If you found anything interesting or useful here, please like and share. Also, please consider supporting the work of this channel using the Patreon link below. Patreons are given special thank you gifts ranging from email help to a signed copy of my latest book, the must-have 500-page Web Handling Handbook. See you next time.